Yo guys, I'm Mike in Microphone, and the microphone is a metaphor for the fact that you have something beautiful to say, but you need to make the arrangements so that you can be heard. Now, today, the microphone that we're talking about is actually this microphone. I forgot to plug it in the last video. So sorry if you were watching that, you probably got a little fan noise, and the volume wasn't quite right. If you decided not to watch that one, that's okay, because this one is going to have pretty similar coding in it. We just touched up this interface. Now we're going to touch up this interface. So there's a lot of similarity in the code that we're creating. So I'm going to go from here, the listed items controller, to the lists controller. Look at the approve and reject actions. I'm going to cut out these redirection directives. I'm going to go to the lists directory, add approve JS ERB. DOM ID list approval interface for, let's see, yeah, it's the same terminology. And if it gets approved, we're going to slide it up. And if it gets rejected, we're going to fade it out. They're both just kind of built-in ways to animate the hiding of an element in the markup. Just making the distinctions so that there is enough of a clue to let the administrator know that they did indeed hit the right one. And then I'm going to go to the template that generates the interface, this review template. Okay, so in this case, the list is being, okay, so the list and the approve and the reject are bounded by this div for list. And that's actually why they're carrying the extra styling which goes into this interface. This is a side effect of the habit, I guess, that I have of kind of starting with something that's very basic. Like if you look at this div class list, you know, that class name should probably be like list display or list presentation or something more specific than just list. Div ID is lists, div class is list. Those are not specific enough. And so when I create other interfaces, some of the styling bleeds into them as well. So let's make this one more specific first. So div for list, and this is the approval interface for I'm not in love with the fact that I wrote the word interface here. It's a little bit on the wrong level of meta describability. It's like, I think like this whole thing is the interface. It's not really correct to say that this is the interface, but let's see. I'm gonna leave it alone for now. I'm gonna leave it as is for now, and if that continues to weigh on my mind a little bit, then I'll revisit it later. Or if you have a suggestion, you can leave it in the comments. So now I can see I have a much more basic interface here, much uglier, unfortunately. There's not going to be any color changing, but all in good time. So there's an issue here, which is that there's no display of the list description, and if somebody wrote dirty words there, you know, instead of using these BRs, I've actually gotten into the habit of using Ruby to generate those. And then I would like to have a little separation here. So yeah, I was gonna get really, really janky and just put another one of these after the list, but that's too janky. And if I was approving multiple things, then those BRs would stack up and my interface wouldn't be... Okay, so one of the attributes of this interface is that if I hit approve, 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 then they'll slide up into place so that the next one will be under my mouse without me having to move it. And I think in this case that's a strength of the interface. So I don't want the BRs to start stacking up so that I would have to slide down to hit approve. Although actually that is kind of a... that could be construed as a strength of the interface. Trying to think. So like with this, the trackpad style, it's nice to be able to tap without having to slide. I think having to be a little more deliberate about approval is something that I would consider. But I don't think that I'm going to take that leap yet. I think that I'm going to make this just a nice clean bit of markup that doesn't accumulate cruft as you are approving things, just because I think that is going to... I think that actually has an impact on mental health. You know, if you know, if there's this little nagging thought like, I know that cruft is happening. I'm going to now refresh the page to get it out of there. I'm overthinking this, obviously. So the approval interface for the list. So I'm gonna, in terms of which style sheet to put this in, I could put it in this one. Yeah, I don't have a better idea than that at this point. So I'm going to... I do want to do more styling of this interface as a whole. But I think putting it in this style sheet is okay. I mean, the style sheet is getting long. It's 300 lines. That's longer than I normally like to have. But style sheets are like that sometimes, so... yeah, I guess I've talked myself into it. So let's make a new style sheet. List approval. Okay, so now I have a little separation between the items and it's not generated by a janky BR tag that's going to linger after I do the thing. So I'm going to reject this list. Okay, missing a template because I didn't actually update this link to be AJS. No, that's true. Okay. Try approving this one. Okay, it slides up, and then I'll make a new one. Let's say bad players. These folks probably won't win. Okay, review this. Okay, so the display that I'm getting here, I don't like the way it looks, but I like that I'm able to see the unsportsmanlike text that was written. So I'll reject this, and now that list of bad players is nowhere to be found.